This is our 7th week of virtual worship, which is hard to believe. The novelty is worn off, but we've learned that this way of connecting, it works, at least for myself. I've learned how important this religious community is to my well-being. And I'd like to first talk about a few aspects of our use of Zoom. We've learned how to not only mute you, but keep you muted. We'll unmute you before we send you into breakout rooms. You also have a button that says either gallery view or speaker view. If it says gallery view, then you're actually in speaker view and vice versa. We recommend that you keep your computer in speaker view for the main part of the service and switch to gallery view during the breakout time. So it's reverse nerd logic. You can also pin the video of the person who's speaking so you can see them better. Those of you who are on computers, tablets, or smartphones should be able to access the chat feature. In the chat, you can type in comments that everyone can read. You can also post if you're having technical issues or have thoughts you wish to share. And we still have volunteers willing to work with you during the week to problem solve or practice using Zoom. And we'll do our best to work with you via the chat if you need help. And we'll continue to open the Zoom room 30 minutes before worship starts so that you can work out any kinks. So let's now begin our centering. Whoever you are, wherever you've come from, whatever your beliefs, whomever you love, and however bumpy your life's journey, know that you are welcome here. We're hoping that everyone has a chalice or a candle to light and something to light it with. Let's light our chalices together. And as I share some opening words, I'd invite everyone who has access to the chat to check in by typing your names. If you're a virtual visitor, also share in the chat where you're logging in from. This is a Beatitudes for Earth Sunday by the Reverend Richard S. Gilbert. Blessed are the heavens, for they declare the power of creation. Blessed is the earth, our beloved home, for she is a planet of plenitude. Blessed are the waters thereon, for they gave rise to living things. Blessed is the land, for it is the source of life abundant. Blessed is the air we breathe, for it fires us to life and love. Blessed are the beasts of the field, for they are glorious to behold. Blessed are the birds of the air, for they carve a graceful arc in the sky. Blessed are the mountains and the seas and the valleys, for their variety makes rich our habitat. Blessed are the fields of grain, the orchards of fruit, for they give sustenance, asking nothing in return. Blessed are the dwellers on earth, for they cherish the privilege of living upon it. Blessed are they who protect the earth and all her creatures, from the plants of the field to the trees of the forest, for their reward shall be harmony with the web of existence. Rejoice and be glad, for the earth and her people are one. And now if you would like to join in singing the first hymn, This Land is Your Land.
This land is your land, this land is my land, from California From the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters, this land was made for you and me. As I went walking that ribbon of highway, I saw above me that endless skyway. I saw below me the golden valley. This land was made for you and me. I roamed and rambled, and I followed my footsteps to the sparkling sands of her diamond deserts. All around me a voice was sounding. This land was made for you and me. When the sun came shining, then I was strolling, and the wheat fields waving, and the dust clouds rolling. A voice was chanting as the fog was lifting. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters, this land was made for you and me.
Good morning. I am Ginger Yoder, the Director of Family Ministries, and our story today is something brand new that we've not yet tried and is made possible because we're on Zoom. We are going to be showing a video that comes from PBS Wisconsin, and I'm really excited that everyone will be able to see it clearly, unlike the times I've tried to show video in our sanctuary that has not worked out so well. So this is an exciting use of our new technology. And it's a story about Earth Day. It's actually about Gaylord Nelson, and he is the founder of Earth Day. And this story is told by his daughter, Tia. And it's a story of perseverance and dedication. And I want you to think, as you're watching it, how much it must have taken Nelson to not give up on his dream to help the environment, and how his vision changed the way the United States works to preserve our home, our only Earth.
You hear the word ecology. That's a big science, not a narrow one. It's a big concept. And it is concerned with all the ramifications of all the relationships of all living creatures to each other and their environment.
This is me with my father. My name is Tia Nelson, and my dad was Gaylord Nelson. He is known as the father of Earth Day, a vision he had for teachers all across the country to talk about the environment. Maybe you've heard of Earth Day. Maybe you've even participated in an Earth Day event. Before he was the father of Earth Day, before he was my dad, he was a little boy growing up in Clear Lake in northern Wisconsin. He loved spending time outdoors, exploring the forests, lakes, and streams of the region. Nature was his playground. As he was growing up, he also got to know the world of civics and government through his parents.
And so I went to political meetings with my father and my mother from the time I was in grade school. Whenever a speaker came within driving distance in our Model T Ford, the way we went, 40, 50, 60 miles sometimes, just to hear somebody, hear one of the La Follettes give a speech.
My father was inspired, and he started thinking about a future for himself, running for elected office. That stayed with him as he went to college and then law school, through his time in the U.S. Army during World War II. When he came back to Wisconsin, he was ready to get his career in politics going. He ran for the state Senate and then for governor of Wisconsin. As governor, he worked on government reform, social justice causes, and environmental issues. He created new jobs for young people, designated lands for public parks, and worked to conserve our beautiful lakes and rivers. He accomplished a lot for the people of Wisconsin, and he wanted to make an even bigger impact. So he ran for the U.S. Senate to represent Wisconsin citizens in the nation's capital. And he won. But when he got to Washington, D.C., he found out that others in government just didn't seem to care about the environment as much as he did. A national conservation tour with President Kennedy didn't accomplish what he hoped it would. And few senators would support the laws that he proposed to protect our environment. Some years later, he went to visit the site of an oil spill and was devastated by the damage he saw. On the plane ride home, he read an article about anti-war teach-ins on college campuses. That's when he got an idea.
Teach-ins on the campuses, teach-ins on the Vietnam War. And I thought, that's a good idea. Why can't we have a nationwide, quote, teach-in on the environment? That's where the concept of Earth Day came from.
The idea for a teach-in about the environment started to spread well beyond my dad's original vision. And when the day came, April 22nd, 1970, people all over the country participated. That day, the first Earth Day, marked the start of many changes to come over the next 10 years. They passed laws to keep pollution out of the air and water, so many laws that it became known as the Environmental Decade. My father was elected to 3 terms, serving 18 years in the U.S. Senate. Even after he was finished, he never stopped fighting for the environment. When asked at the age of 88 why he still went to work every day, he said, "Because the job's not done." And he's right. There's still so much more to do.
I don't think there's any other issue viewed in its broadest sense, which is critical to mankind, as the issue of the quality of the environment in which we live.
Earth Day lives on, as does the need to protect and care for the place we call home. Each of us has the power to help make the world a better place. It's up to you and me to do our part.
Sometimes when we really, really believe in something, we know with all of our hearts that we need to work for change and for good, we find that others don't always think or share our passion or think the same way we do. I wonder how Gaylord Nelson felt when the other senators didn't want to work to save the environment in the way he did. And I wonder if you've ever felt that way too, with something you've believed in. I know in my son's school, they talk about grit and continuing on even when things get hard. And I wonder if you've ever had to reach down inside and find that grit. Believe in yourself and your own ideas, even when others don't. I wonder how that felt. Where did you find the strength to continue to fight for your ideas? Gaylord Nelson ended up changing the whole world. And his daughter reminds us that each of us has that power too. And I wonder what ideas you have to change the world. I wonder what you'll find the grit to continue the work on that's not yet finished. And now I invite our children to go to the Yellow House, where we are participating in a celebration of Earth Day using their very own art that they have created through the week, and we've put together in an art gallery slideshow. And for those who can't come and visit us in the Yellow House, it will be online later this week. So I will see you all there. The link is in the chat. And luckily we had a practice earlier this week, so I got to see the service beforehand, and it's pretty amazing. So I'll see you all later. Bye.
So this is the time we've set aside to invite you to engage in the practice of generosity. For those of you able to make a financial contribution, you'll notice 3 options for managing the logistics on your screen. We'd invite you to either copy down the information you need or simply go to the church website to make a donation. The web address is in the chat. We give all of the cash or non-designated checks from our Sunday offering to local charities whose missions align with our values. So the program this month, the program is called Month of Sundays, And this month, the recipient is the Disability Action Center's RAMP project. Our online donation system includes a drop-down menu that allows you to choose where you'd like your money to go. If you're mailing or dropping off a check, simply indicate in the memo line whether it's intended for the month of Sundays or for the general fund. And to give some context to the power of our giving and the power of collective commitment, I've just got to share with you some information that our speaker, Margaret von Braun, gave us. And it's also a little bit of a lead-in for her. And it's about the Apollo program. Between 1959, the first year of NASA, and 1973, a year after the most recent moon landing, NASA spent $20.5 billion, which in 2018 dollars is $153 billion, on its lunar directive. The impact of the US space program on our daily lives is almost incalculable. It initiated, pioneered, or inspired advances and inventions in every kind of satellite, in medical instrumentation, in digital imaging, and of course in computers. NASA's early purchase of 1 million microchips kickstarted that nascent industry. So it's part of why we're here on Zoom today. In 1975, just 3 years after the last Apollo mission, the program's return on investment was estimated to be 15 to 1. Now, of course, every penny that was spent on the Apollo program was spent on Earth, paying the salaries of hundreds of thousands of factory workers, subcontractors, scientists, engineers, technicians. The money we as taxpayers spent on this endeavor brought us together as a nation of individuals who, as a community, made something truly amazing happen. Our donations to the UU Church of the Palouse are part of what makes our own community thrive, makes it survive, and helps us do amazing things. So in the spirit of love and for the continuing work of this church, we will now take time to practice generosity together as the offertory is played. Our meditation today will be in 3 parts. A breathing meditation, first with a few words, then in quiet, then with music. So feel free to sit comfortably where you are, or even lie down if you like. Feel your natural breath as it moves in and out of your lungs. Feel the gentle movement of your torso with each slow breath. Maybe you even notice the rhythm of your heart. Notice that each breath and heartbeat expands against the gentle pressure of our Earth's atmosphere, causing small ripples that link us to each other, no matter how far away we are. We are all so connected.
in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out.
Our reading today is about COVID-19. It will change us as a species. We must respond not just as nations fighting an enemy, but as a species fighting for survival. The virus will not wipe us out, but it's causing untold pain and loss, destabilizing global markets, and turning our daily lives into a surreal landscape. Our vulnerability and codependence are openly exposed. We must think collectively, each of us playing an essential role. The first steps are simple: to be humble in the face of what we don't know, to be respectful of nature and its powers, to work together to preserve not just our lives and those of our loved ones, but the lives of all of us, celebrating the gift of being alive. We're going to sing together now hymn, Our World is One World. We'll do 4 verses.
Our world is one world. What touches one affects us all. The seas that wash us round about, the clouds that cover us, the rains that fall. Our world is one world. The thoughts we think affect us all. The way we build our attitudes, with love or hate we make a bridge or wall. Our world is one world. Its ways of wealth affect us all. The way we spend, the way we share, who are the rich or poor, who stand or fall. Our world is one world, just like a ship that bears us all, where fear and greed make many holes, but where our hearts can hear a different call.
So I'm very happy today to introduce our speaker, Margaret von Braun. I'm going to make sure, yeah, I'm unmuted. She's an environmental engineer working in the areas of environmental health and risk assessment. And she enjoyed 31 years at U of I. She was in the engineering college, the environmental sciences program, and was also dean of the College of Graduate Studies. Upon retiring, she and her husband co-founded TerraGraphics International Foundation that many of you may know about. And this organization has partnered with Doctors Without Borders on environmental health projects in Nigeria, Kyrgyzstan, and Bangladesh. Today, Margaret will describe some lessons from science, the moon landing, and Earth Day that may inspire us to emerge from coronavirus quarantine, which is the great pause, as a better species. Thanks for being here, Margaret.
Thanks, Mac. In the midst of this great pause, many of us wonder what we're going to be like on the other side. I want to discuss lessons from two scientific anniversaries, the moon landing and Earth Day, to help us see how we might emerge as a better species. But first, a little history about science deniers or non-believers. Flat earthers prevailed until about 3 years before Christ. Some remain. In the 1500s, Copernicus, who was a Polish priest, reported that planets revolve around the sun, but scientists were burned at the stake for teaching it. In 1610, Galileo proved mathematically that planetary motion was due to gravity. Most of us now recognize gravity as a fact, but Galileo was tried for heresy and spent much of his life under house arrest. He was quarantined. Despite Darwin and lots of proof, some people still don't believe in evolution or that we actually landed on the moon. And now there's debate about whether to believe in climate change and pandemics. As a scientist, it drives me nuts that people think these are belief systems. I want to focus on those last three scientific facts. They're related, and we'll start with climate. This week, of course, we celebrated Earth Day's 50th birthday, and there have been tremendous accomplishments to reduce pollution, especially in wealthy countries. And now Earth's challenges focus on climate. When you live in Idaho, you can see the Milky Way reflected in Stanley Lake in the Sawtooth Mountains. This is the Central Idaho Dark Sky Reserve, a deliberate effort to save energy by reducing light pollution. It's sometimes hard to remember that in the US, more than 80% of the people live in cities where light pollution prevents them from seeing stars. And on planet Earth, a third of the people cannot see the Milky Way. According to NASA, the same people who got us to the moon, the current warming trend is extremely likely to be the result of human activity. But we don't seem to accept this as a scientific fact. No industrial nation is on track to meet the international goals to reduce carbon. And most people don't have clean air. There have been numerous findings that have shown the great pause due to the COVID virus has reduced pollution levels. Here's some pictures from Los Angeles last March and this March. People in LA are not smothered in smog. People in India can see the Himalayas. It can give you hope. But then there are headlines like this. Some industries don't have to meet certain environmental laws if they can prove that it's the virus's fault. And poor people always breathe worse air. And we've already seen data suggesting that people in poverty may have higher rates of disease from the COVID virus. Last year, we celebrated another 50-year scientific milestone, landing on the moon. I was there for the launch with my parents and soon-to-be disgraced Vice President Agnew. I'm in the white hat with my little brownie camera. I took a picture of the launch in case no one else did. Well, how did we get to the moon? We had strong leaderships and a very clear objective. In 1961, John Kennedy said, let's go to the moon before the end of the decade. He gave us 8 years. It was a bold goal. America had not even orbited the Earth. Alan Shepard had gone up 116 miles in 15 minutes. He'd gone 0.05% of the way to the moon, and 20 days after Alan Shepard's trip, John Kennedy said, "Let's do it, let's go to the moon." There's nothing quite as humbling as looking at Earth from afar. Here's the Earth from the moon. Here's the Earth from Mars. When the Apollo 11 astronauts returned, they were quarantined for 3 weeks in an Airstream trailer, and they didn't have Zoom. We were afraid they were going to unleash moon germs. They did smile for visitors. Here's President Nixon saying hello. But like many of us today, they probably were bored and kind of sick of each other. Of course, we've continued to explore space, and we continue to be humbled. Here's the Earth compared to the sun. And here's the sun compared to the largest known star in the Milky Way galaxy. Here's the Milky Way compared to the largest galaxy in the known universe. Maybe we need something like the space race to address climate. What if we had two Earths, one for the deniers, the people who believe that things like gravity don't exist or that we didn't land on the moon? They'd have it pretty easy. If you're over 60 and you don't care about anybody or anything, you just keep going the way things are. And then there'd be a planet for the acceptors who believe that climate change is a problem. And they would be looking at adaptations, supporting certain technologies, assigning liabilities, buying carbon credits, humanizing human immigration, supporting free journalism, cutting the $5 trillion US fossil fuel subsidies, and supporting elections of leaders who understand climate change. But of course, we don't have that luxury. There's just one Earth, and we're all on it together. As Martin Luther King said on civil rights, we may all have come on different ships, but we're in the same boat now. And that's true for climate, and it's true for COVID-19. We're on this planet together with a virus. It seems to be almost everywhere. As of Thursday, it had been found in 210 countries. Now, we can't even agree how many countries there are. There's somewhere between 195 and 249, depending on how you count. But when have so many countries responded to the same thing at the same time? All over the world, people are responding with hygiene, with treatment, with testing. This is a small hospital in northern Nigeria that's beset with thousands of climate refugees and by terrorism. Some of you may recognize Dr. Simba Tarima. He was a Moscow resident for many years, a U of I graduate. He now works with Doctors Without Borders. And in this hospital, they're preparing for cases. Every country is doing something in reaction to the same thing. I can't think of another time in my life when this has ever happened. And it gives me hope. Countries can get together and respond. The picture of the Earth that led to Earth Day reminds us what a rare and fragile planet this one is, the one we call home. 600 million people watched the moon landing. It was a time we were united to celebrate a peaceful initiative. And we can unite again to meet a common challenge. Science tells us that we can reverse the effects of our changing climate. We may have 20 years to do that. And we got to the moon in only 8 years. Our hearts tell us that we can emerge from the COVID pause as a better species. Humans do amazing things when they focus on a common goal. We all seem to look up to the heavens when we have questions. Science, like spirituality, asks questions. So today for the breakout, we have 2 questions for you. This is assuming that you believe in the seriousness of this pandemic, that it is a fact, and that you've had some time to reflect. First, what is your hope for us as an improved species when we emerge from the great pause? And second, knowing that change requires work, what can you do to help that improvement happen? Thank you.
So I'd like to share with you, I think that we're all back, a poem that could have been written for Earth Week. And as maybe it was Elizabeth last week mentioned, Mary Oliver, who could be considered the poet laureate of the Unitarians. It's the poem Wild Geese. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. So let's sing together again, There Is a Love.